they eliminated our ability to get remedy. Like we can't get remedy. Right? The real remedy comes from when we recognize ourselves and then we start complaining on these people. Because you can't really take them to court like that. Like you can't really take them to court when they violate you. Because the place that you're taking them to is probably colored too. So you're taking them to court for color, but the court you're going to is colored.
And
then you have to file that, and that's going to cost you $200, which is fiat, which is colored. But then you're saying we're all sovereign and all that stuff, but then you're giving them fiat to go pay to file the lawsuit.
Oh, I gotta make a comment on that.
Sorry,
I gotta make a comment on that about the fiat, about the pay, because you just brought it up. You know, we're gonna speak on it much more later. But guess what? We found a case law that says that it says this, man. It says no natural people. No natural people can be charged to go into any state court, and then it further says that is for fiction. No, we just found it, so we're gonna look it up. Let me see what else is it. When they say you gotta put it in like this, or you gotta put it in like that, or you gotta do this, or what the procedures are, guess what? If you had read the procedures, that's for attorneys only. Attorneys have to do that. Attorneys have to put it in a certain way, not the natural people. Man, we found it now. Well, I mean, we already knew, but now we found it in support. So I just wanted to, what you're saying, so I just want to say this. Therefore, if you do go to put in a suit, especially if you make an action, right, and you pay them, guess what they know? That you don't really know. And then they're going to say, well, the law is, or the procedure, the policy is that only people who are fictions pay. Why are you paying if you said you're not a fiction? Man, we raising a bar now. We raising a bar now.
You got a comment?
Oh, yeah, Islam. Now, understand that without a base, a table, chair, a house is not going to stand. So your foundation is that you are not one Negro, black, colored, Ethiopian, and you are not a citizen of the corporate United States of America or any state, county, city, town, township, or borough. All right, you're not a resident. All right, so their statutes, codes, rules, and regulations don't apply to you, being that we're the nationals of the land, the natural people of the land. All right, now if you know that they came over here and started these 13 colonies. All right, if they came over here, started in 13 colonies, they went through whatever they went through with the War for Independence, what we did for them, but then they want to turn around and call us Negro, black, and colored. But anyway, that War for Independence, all right, which was for them. Now, and you know if they were colonies, they were dependent on England, all right? Again, making them foreigners, all right? So as time went past, from the colonies / plantations, it became the states, all right, under our Constitution, all right? However, they were all supposed to take the oath to uphold the Constitution, but if you know that they're foreigners and they came over here and they became states later on, all right, and each state created, their own Constitution, they created their own rules and regulations.
Still monitored by the Supreme Law.
Still monitored by the Supreme Law of the land, which is the American Constitution. All right, so if you know that, then you know they got a governor, they have a governor lieutenant. All right, these are all corporate personnel. All right, now you got the municipalities. Your situation, that happened here? Yeah. All right, well, you see here, when were they established?
There you go.
When were they incorporated? That right there show you, that's prima facie evidence that they are foreign corporations and stuff doesn't apply to you. You put that in written form and you send it to them. And that's what you stand on. You stand on the Constitution.
Article 6.
Article 6, our law. Read that preamble. That's ours.
Yeah.
It ain't nobody else's. It's ours for them to follow. You know, this situation is like, it's like my little boy running around my house telling me what he gonna do. You know, I brought you here. You don't tell me what you gonna do. You understand? So that's your foundation, that you're not Negro, black, and colored, and they are foreigners. Anything that they produce or anything they try to enforce on you is fraud and is colored.
Can I add? Go ahead, no, you go ahead.
No, I use it.
I got to
No,
add
all due respect, what he's saying is right and exact. And I want to yield the floor back. But the example that he just gave is so right and exact, because if you look in the accusatory instruments, I'm pretty sure that they label your identity as black. Exactly. So that is the foundation, like this brethren said. But I also wanted to point something out, because it's an economics commerce game as well. That's not the foundation. But just this week, Great Britain, London bridges falling down. Britain broke away from the European Union.
Yes.
What does that mean on the international level? Okay? Because a lot of these 13 colonies, these in the subsidiary subsequent colonies were attached to Great Britain, especially in North America, all the way up into Canaanland. All right? And then we have our brethren and sisters in the South who was dealing with the Spaniards. They was running things. So my thing is this: their house is crumbling as well. All right, with London bridges falling down. Check out the date that they was incorporated and see who gave them the charter, who granted them that permission. But what this brother just stressed can't be stressed enough, because you know you don't have to get in the subject matter. You look at what does it say on the face of the accusatory instrument. Is the language defective? Is it accurate? Did they misrepresent you? In all capital letters, Negro, black, color, African American, all of these things can be, classified in misrepresentation. So keep that in mind too. I just wanted to add that on because the brethren mentioned the colonies. And just this week, London bridges is absolutely starting to fall down. So
they push my court date back. They issue me a court appointed.
it's not a court date, it's an invitation. You gotta keep that in mind.
So I still have to, either way I can dismiss.
We can talk to you about
Yeah,
that.
we'll
We're gonna have to do that.
because you have to remember too that like when we have these type of forums, this is why more science STEM goes out of school. Because this is not the forum really to deal with, like, your issue is supposed to be, my Grand Sheik, I got court coming up in 2 months or whatever like that, I need some assistance, all right, Grand Governor, Grand Mufti, Grand whoever like that, you're gonna meet with this brother tomorrow, 2 o'clock, help him deal with his stuff. And then, you know what I mean? You get all your stuff, you seal all your papers, bam, bam, you go about your business. You know what I mean? And the fact that we dealt with it on the strength like that is what's gonna get it dismissed.
Because the court, you already in your court session. Your strategies, the way you're thinking, what moves you make right now, what you're gonna say next, before that particular date comes up, all of that is the court. That's just an invitation for a face-off, which you really don't have to accept. But everything you do prior to that is really the court. The court doesn't start when you walk in the building. Know that. So your activity now that supersedes or precedes that particular date, all of that is a part of court and international law. And if I'm assuming that you have a law dictionary, Henry Campbell Black's for it. But if you don't, you need to get one. Fourth edition. Yeah, it's imperative. So you can first and foremost even understand what is court. Before you go to a colorable venue, understand that in international law, it's wherever you're at. There we go.
All right,
There
you're gonna
we
look
go.
at it. Well, while you do that, I
Definition
just
of
want to say this because somebody mentioned a national domicile that you don't reside in. Was it you? You don't reside in, nor do you live in any state. Now, a lot of people will get confused or not know, well, how do I handle that? What about my mailing? What about this? What about that? Your mailing is always going to be C/O clear up, meaning that you'll never be possessive of a venue, which is what an avenue is, a venue that is assigned by a municipality or a state. Because if you tell me you're a national, then the definition of national says the domicile of a person considered as being within the territory of a particular nation, and not with reference to a particular locality or subdivision of a nation. Now you see this map of what you call the United States of America? Do you see that that's all subdivisions of the nation? Isn't that what that is? So you can't live in that, because then you would have to claim that you are what? That you are a quasi-national of a quasi-national domicile. What is a quasi-national domicile? One that involves resident in a state. How are you going to tell me you're national and then say your domicile is quasi-national? So some people need visual, so that's why we put this on the visual. But then lastly, the municipal domicile, that's the one that messes with you every day, because they put up municipal city halls and police stations. They're all Roman venues, because that's what municipal means. They're all Roman venues. They're the ones that come after you every day and stalk you when you leave your house to go to the store and all that. Well, guess what the definition of that is? That one is one which is distinguished from being a national and from being a quasi-national. It has reference to residents in a county, township, or municipality. So which one are you? You said you were a national, but you keep referring to yourself as being a resident of a quasi-national domicile, and you wonder why you don't have the right words. It's the wrong jurisdiction. When you do that, they know that you're one of them. You got to claim your ancestral state, which is your national domicile. North America, South America, Central America, and the adjoining islands. So if you were in South America, you would say, what they do with this territorial misunderstanding that we have in terms of territorial jurisdiction and how they get you and they don't listen to nothing else you say, because they realize that you do not know and that you do not honor your mothers and fathers and you have lack of knowledge. What they do is they'll say, where do you live? And you'll say, I live in 315 Grandview. All right, they're going to roll over your behind and they're not going to tell you why. Because you can't say that you live at 315 Grandview, because it's either a municipal or quasi-national domicile. You could say, I take mail care of 315 Grandview. You understand? So when they do that, they automatically have taken territorial jurisdiction when they wrote you the writ and it said, and the jurisdiction of the city of Pittsburgh, you were speeding on 5th Street, right? You didn't realize that they just claimed territorial jurisdiction. You did not realize it, right? You have to write back and say, in the jurisdiction of my ancestral state / national domicile, North America, and then you can identify longitude, latitude, or whatever you want after that. I was traveling on 5th Street. If you don't do that, you allow them to take what? Territorial jurisdiction, and all they need is any one of them to get you.
Islam. Islam.
So what you put in your writs is your position regarding the matter. You have to write like that.
Right. Sis, you had comment?
Oh, I was just saying, like, I just heard you say that you were supposed to say that you were traveling on that street, not that you were
Driving. Because driving is a commercial activity, therefore the driver's license is for those who are doing commerce. And if you are doing commerce, which means you are carrying cargoes, goods, or passengers, such as a taxi, then you are subject to the policies, rules, regulations of being a driver. I know all of our life we say, I'm going to get my driver's license, I'm driving, but there's a legal technicality to that, because that's a federal program that's issued by the federal government that issued it, and the states participated, and they're violating everybody's rights by exceeding and taking advantage of what it is for, and have taught your children from high school to believe that they need a driver's license instrument in order to navigate upon the land. And they did it for generations and generations and sucked everyone into it so that they could continue to get federal dollars, saying that this program is absolutely necessary. Not only is it still necessary, look how many people are violating. This one was speeding, that one was doing that.